I really think it's great that they do a conference about 6 weeks into the school year because it's early enough to correct any problems or address any problems, and it gives the teachers a chance for me to impart information about my children to them. She seems to really like the feedback you're giving her. She feels like there's a real sort of conversation happening when she hands in work and you give her the comments in the side. I think that pushes her and she feels sort of heard as a student, and that she is really appreciated.
That's so important. The more that it's a cooperative partnership with the child's best interests in the front of everybody, the better it's going to be for the child.
She gravitates towards fantasy and fiction and fantasy, the fantasy genre. What can I do to encourage her to go to other choices when she's choosing books? And I also think some of her reading choices are too easy for her, but she really loves the stories. So do you have any concerns that I need to push her to either read harder books or more nonfiction, and any advice for how to get her to jump in and do that? If you have a tough question, you should always ask it. Of course, find a polite way of asking it, but your child's future is on the line and nothing's more important. And the teacher is here to help your student learn, and if you're concerned that that's not happening, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your child, and you owe it to that teacher to raise that concern. There's a lot of talk now as our school is moving to the Common Core about getting at, I think you talked about deeper learning, that's one of the buzzwords I've heard, but also critical thinking. Mm-hmm. What does that really mean in the classroom, and what does it mean for Olivia?
It is a much more focus on informational text than we've ever had before, in part because that seems to be the weakest area for American students generally, and it certainly is the weakest area for our kids.
I usually think about the goals that I want for my child for the year and make sure that those are addressed in the conference. I also usually have at least one concern that I'm bringing in. So you mentioned that she sometimes rushes through her math work and isn't really scoring as high as she can on some of her quizzes and some of her homework and tests. Is there anything we can do at home to work with her on this?
I think instinctively parents bring academic questions. That's what the focus is, and we're going to have those discussions anyway. But for me as a teacher, if they were also thinking about and looking at how is my child doing socially, how is my child doing in terms of behavior, how does he or she fit into the greater classroom, those kinds of questions I would really welcome.
So is she doing well? Does she fit in? Does she have friends? Is she a leader? Any concerns on your part that we should know about?
No, fifth grade is a big year emotionally. She has friends in the classroom, she has friends, when I see her on the playground. She's clearly sitting back and kind of taking a look at what is starting to be some different dynamics. We've got a little bit of boy-girl stuff going on. We always do. It'll get worse by the end of the year. She's not part of it, but clearly she is kind of looking at how things are changing and figuring out where she fits into it. This is as much for me as it is for them. They have information that is so valuable for me, and they should look at themselves as a resource for us.